This is TWIT.
This was a series of hearings, and this one particularly was focused on trust, antitrust. And they said, how do we promote innovation in this country with tech being, so strong? So they also were speaking in the House, right? Was there another hearing in the House?
There were 4 separate hearings.
Okay, there were a lot of them.
Yes.
Okay.
There were many, yeah.
Yeah, turn off the room mic because it's a little echoey. All of the executives who testified in the House said, we face competition at every turn, especially with WeChat and TikTok eating into our global market share. But they did the thing that Mark Zuckerberg did, which when asked questions he didn't know the answer to, he said, well, let me ask my team and I'll get back to you. It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating, said freshman Representative Lucy McBath of Georgia, which definitely means we're asking the right kinds of questions and we recognize this is an ongoing issue. In the Senate, maybe it was a little different because it seemed like there were competing agendas, right, Jeff?
Yeah. So the right. So on the one hand, you have people going after the platform saying take down extremist content, and then with no sense of irony whatsoever, the right is complaining that that's censorship of them, which to me kind of admits that they are doing extremist content. But we'll leave that to the side. So now they're arguing that so Ted Cruz was going after them, had a presentation he'd gotten out of Google that he thought was damning, and so on. Mazie Hirono, who's the ranking member on the other side, someone I haven't watched the testimony yet, but someone I know who I respect a lot who watched it said that she was doing a better job of defending Google than Google's guy was. But where you end up here pretty soon is you end up with the potential of the government basically trying to legislate forcing the platforms to run certain content. You have things like PragerU, who also testified, having gone from Trump's own little White House party for the extremists, they go over to Congress then. And so they're trying, you've got this pincer movement going on where from the left, it's you're too big, we're going to break you up. And you got privacy. And then from the right, it's you're censoring us and you're not letting us speak because other people, the left, are saying get the bad speech down, but we don't think our speech is bad. And we're all going to attack you now. And what's going to suffer is the internet. And that's what worries me. That's what worries me greatly.
They also asked some good questions. In fact, I was very impressed by some of these people. Pramila Jayapal, who's a Democrat from Washington, asked the Amazon general counsel. She said, when people sell products on your site, do you track which products are the most successful? And then do you sometimes create a product to compete with that product? We've heard, of course, that Amazon does that. In fact, I think there's pretty good evidence that they do something like that.
Oh, sure. That's one of their virtuous cycle. But that's
Amazon. Well, Here's Amazon's response. We do not use individual seller data in order to compete with them.
Seller data.
Yeah. Okay. So Pramila Jayapal said, you do connect, or no, I'm sorry. This is David Cicciolini of Rhode Island. You do collect enormous data about what products are popular, what's selling, and where they're selling. You're saying you don't use that in any way to promote Amazon products? And I remind you, you're under oath. Sutton replied, we use data to serve our customers. That sounds like a little weasel, right?
Yep. That's the squirming out of it.
Well, I will say this about that. We use data to serve our customers.
Depends on your definition of data.
Depends on your definition of serve.
Depends on your definition of customers.
I'll serve you right.
I mean, Amazon does think of the individual buyer. It doesn't think about society. It doesn't think about externalities. And it thinks about maximizing its profits by optimizing the buyer experience.
You might say that that's their job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is their mission. They talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
That's day one, blah, blah, blah. So it makes sense to say, hey, I'm going to look at data either in aggregate or what people are buying for them and show them that. And because we want to make money too, I'm going to use that and show them my stuff. And the consumer gets maybe the best price for this, which they want. They can find other stuff if they work harder. It's just a question of how far do we want to let those systemic advantages accrue to Amazon? And, we live in a country where there are systemic advantages that have accrued over time to whole swaths of people. So having it happen to companies, it feels very much like something we don't know how to talk about, and we don't know how to think about and regulate. So I think it's part of a macro challenge we have here, just in general.
Yeah. Fox News had a headline that would be, I would think, worthy of the Bulwer-Lytton contest. Google VP grilled in hearing over alleged bias against conservatives as slain reporter's father calls for regulation.
Sheesh.
Oh, I got a little whiplash on that one. Okay. Republican lawmakers on Tuesday criticized Google during the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing over allegations of bias and censorship of conservative groups in the tech giant's platforms. That actually wasn't what the hearing was about, but okay. Also during the hearing, the father of Virginia reporter Allison Parker, who was shot and killed in August while conducting an interview on live television, called on Congress to further regulate Google and other tech giants. The problem,
kitchen sink.
Yeah, the problem apparently is that the killer uploaded videos of the murder to YouTube, and of course he did. We all saw him, but I think YouTube probably pulled them down as quickly as it could. Ted Cruz, Google's control over what people hear, watch, read, and say is unprecedented. Google can and often does control our discourse. The American people are subject to overt censorship and covert manipulation by Google's algorithm.
Again, let's look at
Yeah, that's
on the one hand we have people screaming to take down hate speech and take down extremist speech and take down everything, and then we have them saying, when you take it down, you're hurting us. Now, note also, I went looking for coverage of this hearing, and according to Google, except for one, to my mind, badly done NPR story, every single bit of coverage was on far right media.
We covered
Fox
it.
and farther right.
I covered it yesterday on on Sunday,
but that's it.
But yeah, so partly because in a way, I feel like the media does it need to cover this? This seems like a dog and pony show.
It is, but we got to show what they're doing. They're trying to present a worldview here that's going to have a major impact, that is being believed by 40% of America. And this every time I'm on MSNBC, I begged them to start a feature called "We Watch Fox News So You Don't Have to," because I think it's important to cover it as a political actor. I said somewhat smart-ass, but what I mean it in the sense that I don't know what they do cover. What does my father see? And I don't know what they don't cover. And I want to compare that then to what left media is doing, which is the media I watch, MSNBC. And we need to see the different worldviews people are getting. And we have a lot of talk about how there's bifurcation in social media, but there's much bigger, to my mind, in media. By the way, there's an excellent study I'm writing about. I'll talk about more next week. A researcher named Alex Bruns from Queensland, Australia, who I saw last week in Madrid, who did a study arguing that there's basically no such thing as filter bubbles and echo chambers, but those have become the working metaphors for all the discussion of where we are. And we're far too much taking assumptions and myths in this world where we're headed. So we've got to look also at the larger ecosystem of media and where media are in this. And we don't really see that. So this is a case where there was a hearing, there's a huge outcry, but only in one half of the media world. Half is even over it, but it's not at all in the other media world.
Yeah. Well, the other media world was worried about some other things going on over the weekend.
True that.
A little more concerned about that.
And the first media world was trying to ignore what was going on in the other media world.
Yeah, it was just what's fascinating is if you watch, as I try to do, Fox for a while and then watch MSNBC for a while, it's almost as if they're reporting on different countries.
Oh, God.
It's really a disconnect. Meanwhile,
when the 4 congresswomen testified, I turned to Fox, and they went on about how this was Antifa, however you pronounce it, right? So it was a very different worldview, shall we say.